Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Joker tends to create quite a stir, and that's largely thanks to a wide open-ended ending. It's impossible to trust anything we see in this film. Like as the credits rolled, I was in the audience screaming, "Liar! Liar! Liar!" Spoiler warning if you have not seen Joker yet, though you have had time. But Arthur Fleck's final minutes abruptly incarcerated in a mental hospital in the psychiatric ward of a prison is presented not unlike the final twists of movies like The Usual Suspects or Fight Club, in which the protagonist is suggested to be an unreliable narrator and the events of the movie we've just seen are fictitious lies. And within Arthur's elaborate autobiographical bullshit, the most striking moments are the ones in which Arthur really crosses the line by taking lives. Arthur appears to murder at least 7 people throughout Joker, but with each kill, there are just enough bizarre loose ends and inexplicable details to make us question whether Arthur really did commit each of those murders. If we assume that everything in Joker's narrative is false, how did these murder scenes in particular, if you rewatch them closely, reveal the mentally ill patient at the heart of this story is actually a villain only in his own imagination? Join me as I investigate Arthur Fleck's deceptions and delusions of grandeur in this episode of Total Conspiracy.
Total Conspiracy.
Okay, let us begin with the first time Arthur snaps when he gets jumped by the 3 Wayne Enterprises Wall Street jerks on the train. And then, bang, he uses the revolver given to him by Randall to shoot the ringleader right in the eye. Then, bang, bang, he shoots the second man in the chest twice, the third runs down the train car, and then Arthur shoots him once, bang, and the bullet appears to hit him in the leg. Now the train stops, the guy's freaking out and runs down the platform. Arthur fires again, dropping the guy at the steps, and then walks up to him and shoots him 3 bang, more bang, times bang. Now that should raise some red flags. First red flag, earlier when Randall gave him the firearm, Arthur claimed to have little experience around guns. Like when posing with the weapon in his apartment, he accidentally fired it. Yet here, suddenly, he's a pretty good marksman. He hits a moving target with a .38, which is not easy to aim for beginners, even at stationary targets. But the bigger red flag, Arthur fires 8 shots from a revolver that contains 6 rounds. He clearly never reloads. To quote my favorite comedy, that means
that would be 1 + 1 + 2 + 1, not 1 + 2 + 1 + 1.
Now, characters firing unlimited rounds without ever reloading is definitely something we see in movies and TV shows all the time. You could argue it's not that serious of a plot hole. But after 1 + 2 + 1 + 1, with just 1 round left, why does the director have Arthur fire 3 more shots at the last guy at point blank range when 1 shot'll do? And would have stayed true to the logic of the moment. It's as if the director deliberately went for overkill in order to make this moment illogical, as if it's a revenge fantasy of an oppressed, mentally ill person who suddenly sees himself as a sharpshooter in a movie. But if a gun that fired 2 extra impossible rounds ain't smoking enough for you, look back at the woman the 3 victims were taunting before Arthur intervened. Notice the coat, her eyes. This woman is the same person that Arthur later sees in the back of a taxi wearing a clown mask. Now, it is possible that this woman, whom those men bullied, would be in a way pleased with Arthur for killing them, and maybe be an eager early adopter of his mob of followers. But what kind of message would this subtle, super missable wardrobe detail serve if that's all it meant? I would argue that Arthur seeing the trained woman as one of his first disciples is stronger evidence of a madman constructing a false narrative with himself as a hero and those he saves following him like members of a cult following their Manson. But before we continue, thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this episode. Manscaped.com is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. They created the world's first manscaping kit that makes the process safe and easy. Their Perfect Package 2.0 kit features the Lawnmower 2.0 waterproof cordless electric manscaping trimmer with proprietary skin-safe technology, meaning no nicks, no snags, and your bathroom not looking like Joker's apartment after he was done with Randall. Yikes! There's a lot of blood. Listen to that purr. It's like a kitten. My balls ain't scared. They're ready for grooming. The Perfect Package 2.0 kit also comes with several liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine, including the Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Refreshing Spray, also for your balls. Look, if you put deodorant under your pits, you gotta show some love to your bits. Purchasing the Perfect Package 2.0 kit gives you your biggest bang for your buck. As a subscriber, you'll get 20% off your order instantly, a new replacement blade every 3 months, and for a limited time, not 1, but 2 free gifts. The Shed travel bag and a high-performance anti-chafing manscaping boxer briefs. Yep, they slid right off because thanks to Manscaped, I am smooth as silk and gliding like Joker downstairs. So get 20% off plus free shipping from your Perfect Package 2.0 purchase when you use the promo code Rockstars20 at manscaped.com. So let's move on to the next murder, if that's what we're calling them. Arthur killing his mother, Penny Fleck. He suffocates her with a pillow in her hospital bed, but notice she's got a nasal breathing tube plugged into her nose during this. Now, those tubes provide a light flow of oxygen. They're not scuba gear, but unless Arthur pinched the tube or squeezed her throat, neither of which he does in this scene, Penny should be getting some oxygen. So while Arthur has been built up to get revenge against a mother who abused him, there's enough inconsistencies here to imply that maybe it's just another thing that he might have imagined. But let's move on to the most violent murder of the film, at least in my eyes, Arthur killing Randall. Now this murder goes down in front of a witness, Gary. Arthur stabs Randall in the neck and eye with scissors and then slams his head repeatedly against a post, spraying himself with blood. It's all very vivid, no inconsistencies from what I can tell. But it is worth considering the context that the scene takes place in. Randall and Gary arrive after two events that evidence has shown might not have even happened. First, Penny's death for reasons we've talked about, but second, Arthur getting invited to appear on Murray Franklin's show. Now that phone call comes in an interesting way. Arthur climbs into his refrigerator and locks himself in, as one does, and all the while the phone is ringing in the foreground. Now the frame cuts to the phone, still ringing, the sound effect uninterrupted, but then Arthur walks in from his bedroom, differently dressed, to answer this phone call. The edit here obscures the timeline of this phone call. It's a bit confusing. You could even argue a version of reality exists in which Arthur never really made it out of that fridge. But I think it is possible that Arthur never truly received a phone call inviting him onto Murray's show. And to me, that would make sense, because while Murray Franklin is kind of the asshole to mock a mentally ill person on live TV, he's less of the late-night provocateur that David Letterman was in the 80s than the Johnny Carson-style Mr. Mainstream. So including Randall's death, I see everything that happens in the third act of Joker through a very skeptical eye, and that includes Arthur's murder of Murray Franklin. While appearing on the show, Arthur confesses to murdering the men on the train. He rages against Murray and all of society for being what he calls awful, and he shouts, one last joke, "What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get what you deserve." And bang! Now, I think it is important to note that Arthur's final words to Murray are a joke, because it is a joke that he finally laughs genuinely at in the final scene. A joke that he says we wouldn't get. The entire film is structured like a joke. Over and over, there's a long setup building up our expectations to Arthur committing suicide live on TV, something he intended as a punchline to a knock-knock joke. Until finally, at the last second, this grand joke subverts our expectations with a different punchline. Instead of shooting himself, he shoots Murray. It is this punchline to which Arthur finally enjoys a sincere, hearty laugh. Not a nervous tic or a symptom of his condition, but a true belly laugh. And that laugh is followed by one final kill, that of the psychiatrist, which oddly happens off screen, and it comes the most abruptly. Like, how did he kill her? Why is there so much blood? How did he get out of his cuffs? And why would a violent, incarcerated killer be left unsupervised with a psychiatrist? Yeah, there is definitely enough evidence here to see Arthur Fleck not as a murderer, but as a madman who imagines himself as a murderer. Or perhaps, yeah, a murderer, but a killer of other people that we never see, now fantasizing about killing different people, important people, and all of it having a different effect, a fantasy in which he is an inspiration to a lot of horrible things happening in Gotham society. Now, beyond these that I've mentioned, there are even more subtle moments throughout Joker that are hinted to be false. But I plan to break down each of those in an upcoming video, a new show that I'm gonna be doing with Philip Molina, and I'm very, very excited about. You're definitely gonna wanna check it out. But in the meantime, comment down below with your thoughts on all this. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Erik Voss.
It's in the game.
And a big thanks to our patron, Taj Jesperson. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but you're a hero of mine. Thank you all for joining me, and hosting new Rockstars videos is a fantasy of this madman.